Good evening. Tonight's story is about a dream someone carried for almost 60 years and how it finally come true. Dim the lights, make yourself comfortable. Let's begin. Late in August, a family was preparing for a big celebration. Grandpa's birthday was coming up, and they wanted to make the day special. Let's make a poster with photographs of Grandpa, Mom suggested. We can hang it in the cafeteria above our table. That's a wonderful idea, Mom, her son Adam said. I will take care of it. She gave him 2 boxes of photographs. Adam sat on the floor between them, looking through the pictures and choosing the ones for the poster. The sun was shining that day, filling the room with a light and warmth. A broad golden stripe lay across the floor, with a dust moth glowing inside it. On a windowsill stood a deep pink geranium, a rose that had just opened, and an aloe plant in a clay pot. Suddenly, Adam heard footsteps. It was his grandfather, Victor. He was wearing his favorite blue and white checked shirt, buttoned all the way up. His short gray hair was neatly combed back. He came into the room and asked his grandson what he was doing. Caught off guard, Adam told a small fib. I'm just looking at the picture from when you were young, Grandpa. Grandpa smiled, brought over a chair, and sat beside him. Let's look at them together. Adam nodded happily. Grandpa, you look so young here and so cheerful. Yes, my friends and I went to the sea that day. In the photograph, four sun-tanned young men stood knee-deep in the water. Grandpa wore a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His hair was thick and dark then, and the sea behind him was calm and shadowy with a hardly wave in sight. It was beautiful summer. That's where I met your grandma, by the way. She was extraordinary, the most beautiful and kindest woman in my life. She was walking along the shore in the yellow cotton dress with her bride over the shoulder. I couldn't take my eyes off her all morning. Oh, what about this one, Grandpa? That's me with a man from my army unit. The photograph was black and white and slightly yellowed with age. 8 young men in uniform stood beside an airplane. They all had the same short haircut and all looked very serious. You know I was a paratrooper, don't you? Of course I do, Grandpa. You've told me the stories many times. I don't like this picture, Grandpa said suddenly. My eyes are closed. Grandpa, Adam laughed. Your eyes are closed in nearly all of them. Well, yes, Grandpa admitted, a little embarrassed. I was never photogenic. They both laughed. I've just remembered something, Grandpa said and left the room. When he returned, he was carrying an old blue cookie tin with a worn gold lettering on the lid. There is probably a tin like that in every home. Grandpa sat beside Adam, opened it and passed it to him. Inside were some documents, a neatly folded paratrooper's beret, and several photographs that, for some reason, had never made it into the family album. Adam picked up the top one. It showed a young man in a helmet holding a parachute. The edges of the photograph had frayed with time. Adam recognized his grandfather's face. Grandpa, how old were you here? 20, he replied, maybe 21. Grandpa settled back in his chair, looked out the window, and began telling Adam about those years with a sad smile. He spoke slowly, and Adam didn't interrupt. He knew that if he did, Grandpa would fall silent. First come training, then come his first jump. After that, he knew he had found his calling, and he was immensely proud of himself and his profession. Then come a second jump and a third. Somewhere after 100, he stopped counting. Grandpa said it wasn't the height itself that he loved. It was those few seconds during a jump when his heart seems to stop. Then something happened that forced him to leave the profession he loved. On the day of another assignment, there was unusual crosswind. The landing was badly. He injured his ankle and his back. 2 operations followed, and then 6 months in a hospital bed. After that, a medical board looked through his papers and gave him a brief answer: unfit for a service. I was 26, Grandpa said. I walked out through the hospital gate and had no idea where to go next. I just stopped there, staring on the bus stop. What about Grandma? Adam asked. Your grandma was waiting for me outside the hospital, Grandpa said with a smile. She was always there. She always supported me. Then he told Adam about the ordinary life that followed. Delivered bread to villages. He worked for winters in a boiler room. Later he found a job in a furniture workshop and stayed there for 30 years. He made cabinets, doors, staircases, and once even altar for the village church. His hands still smelled of wood and varnish. Yelena and Nina were born, then come 4 grandchildren, then birthdays, home repairs, weddings, and more birthdays. A good life, Grandpa said. He never spoke of it any other way. Adam set the photograph with a parachute aside. He already knew it would go on the center of the poster. Then Grandpa said, you know, I always dream of returning to the service and make it one more jump. But sadly, that's impossible now. He said it quietly, the way people say things they never mean to say aloud. Then he waved the thoughts away and smiled. Don't listen to an old man. Come on, let's have some tea. Adam walked home that evening. It was growing dark and yellow-lit windows glowed in the courtyard. On the way home, he thought about one thing. Grandpa had never asked of anything in his life. Not for medicine, not for attention, not even for the family to visit more often. But now he asked, even if he hadn't meant it as a real request. The next day, Adam decided to find out whatever other jump might be possible. When he called the first skydiving club, a polite young man answered and explained anything in 2 minutes. The jump would have to be made in tandem with instructor. There was an age limit and Grandpa would need medical clearance. When the parachute opens, there will be a powerful jolt, he said, like a solid blow to the chest. But at 80, it seems isn't realistic. We couldn't take that responsibility. I'm sorry. Adam called a second place, then third. The answers were much the same, only shorter. On Sunday, he told the family everything. His mother put the kettle on and said one word, no. Aunt Yelena said there was no point even discussing it. Grandma Vera said nothing at all. She sat beside the window in a cream-colored cardigan, her gray hair gathered at the back of her head. She understood how much this meant to Grandpa and how impossible it seemed. "But it's what he wants," Adam said. "He wants all sorts of things," his mother replied. "We have to look after him. His health isn't what it used to be." A week later, Adam took Grandpa to the clinic for a routine appointment. This time, he went into the doctor's office with him. The doctor was a short woman with a reddish hair and glasses on the fine chain. She spent a long time looking through Grandpa's medical records. Then she peered over her glasses and asked what we are planning. Adam told her everything. She listened without interrupting once. "A parachute jump is out of question," she said. "And isn't only because of your age. First comes the force of the parachute opening, and then the landing. That's 2 impacts on the spine. Your back wouldn't withstand them." Grandpa nodded. He had been prepared for that answer. Adam was disappointed, but Grandpa said, "I truly appreciate what you are doing for me. It means a great deal. Still, perhaps it's best to let this idea go." That night, Adam found it difficult to sleep. He kept trying to think of a way to make his grandpa's dream come true, but no answer came. Outside the window, a branch swayed, and the street lamps cast moving shadows across the ceiling. Eventually, he fell asleep. That night, he had a wonderful dream. "A paraglider!" he cried aloud. Adam woke up early the next morning, full of energy. He found the paragliding club, called them and asked for details. They told him that the instructor took people on tandem flights from hillside above the river. You run a few steps, and at some point the ground simply stopped holding you. You landed on your feet with the instructor behind you the whole time, and there was no violent opening jolt. They said the flight would be safe as long as the passenger had medical clearance. Adam was delighted. He went back to the doctor, explained his idea, and assured her that it would be safe. "Oh, Adam," she said, "there really is no stopping you." And she sighed and declared. The same evening, Adam discussed everything with the family. Of course, they were worried about Grandpa's health, but once the doctor had approved the flight, they didn't object. The next day, Adam wrote the instructor. His name was Alex. The flight was expensive, but Adam spent all the money he had been saving since winter. He transferred the payment and went to visit grandparents. Grandpa wasn't home. He had gone to the store. So Adam told Grandma the news. He had booked the flight and paid for it himself. "For more than 50 years," she said, "I was glad he wasn't jumping anymore, and all the time he was looking at the sky." She gave Adam an approving pat on the shoulder. "All right, let him fly. We will all go and watch." A week before Grandpa's birthday, Adam took him to the hillside. Just the 2 of them, just to have a look. The weather was fine and there was no wind. They stood gazing into the distance when the paraglider suddenly swept past. Its wing was bright orange with a white stripe, glowing in the sunlight like stained glass. Grandpa watched it in wonder. Adam watched Grandpa, happiness rising inside him. He put a hand on his grandpa's shoulder. "Well, Grandpa, are you ready? We are going to make your dream come true." Grandpa stared at him in surprise. "How? What have you come up with? A paraglider? They will really let me fly?" His expression changed at once. The surprise gave way to indescribable joy. Adam explained how everything would work, and Grandpa listened closely, nodding. Adam had never seen him like this. His face shone with happiness. He kept looking from Adam to the sky, hardly able to believe what he was hearing. Grandpa's birthday fell on Saturday. They left at 6 in the morning because the wind usually picked it up by noon. A low blanket of white mist still hung over the river, and the first sunlight was turning it to pink. The road followed the river and then climbed. At the final bend, a freshly mown field appeared, along with a slope descending toward the water. The instructor had arrived before them and spread the paraglider's wing across the grass. It was enormous, blue and yellow, and lay on the dew like slipped paint. Alex, instructor, he was young and sun-tanned. He wore a faded t-shirt and dark glasses pushed up into his forehead. He checked the lines and fastened Grandpa into the harness. Then, without any ceremony, he asked, "Ever jumped before?" "I have," Grandpa replied. "How many times?" "More than 200, Grandpa said proudly. Alex looked at him again, nodded with respect, and tightened the strap across his chest. "Then let's begin. Keep running until we are airborne. Keep your legs down. I will tell you when." The whole family watched with a bated breath. Mom held the blood pressure monitor in its case. Aunt Elena stood ready with her phone. Grandpa stood a little apart from everyone else, her arms folded across her chest, gazing at Grandpa with admiration. Grandpa took the beret from an inside pocket and held it tightly in his fist. Then he put it away again so he wouldn't lose it. The wing crows behind them tugged at the lines and steered overhead. "Go!" the instructor called. They took 3 steps, then 4, then 5. On the 6th, the grass beneath Grandpa's feet seemed to soften, and then it disappeared completely. From below, it looked breathtaking. 2 figures beneath a brick arc moved away from the hillside, growing smaller as they turned above the river. There was no engine noise, only the wind and the mown field, and somewhere far away a dog barking. Up above, Grandpa was lost in the joy of the flight. Nothing could compare with those few minutes. Below him, the river lay smooth and dark. The fields were divided into yellow and green rectangles, and the forest on the far bank was already touched here. And there, with the first hint of autumn rust, Grandpa raised one hand and held it palm first into the passing air. "Would you like it to steer?" the instructor asked. "Can I really?" Grandpa exclaimed. He took the control handles and pulled it right one. The riverbank began to slide slowly to the left. He pulled it again, more confidently this time. Then he let go and simply sat there, taking it all in. They glided above the water for nearly 7 minutes. They landed in the same field. The instructor called, "Legs." Grandpa stretched his leg out, took 2 steps across the grass, and came to a stop. He was standing. He hadn't fell. The whole family ran toward him. Aunt Elena was first. Mom unzipped the case of a blood pressure monitor. Grandpa came up to him with tears on her eyes. "How do you feel, my darling?" she asked. Grandpa didn't answer at once. He was looking back at the hillside he had just flown from. "I did it," he whispered. "My dream came true." Afterward, they drank tea from a thermos. Mom checked his blood pressure after all, and he was perfectly fine. Only his pulse was racing with happiness. They brought the cake out of the car and lit the candles. It was homemade, with buttercream roses around the edge. "Make a wish," Mom said. "It has already come true," Grandpa replied. "I have nothing else to wish for. My dream come true. Thank you, my family, and especially you, Adam." He blew out the candles. They cut the cake right there on the hood of the car. Everyone congratulated Grandpa and celebrated with him. Adam asked the instructor to take a picture of Grandpa beside the paraglider. That evening, Adam printed the photograph and brought it to his grandpa. Grandpa studied it for a long time beneath the kitchen lamp. Then he took down the old tin and placed the new photograph beside the old one, the picture on himself at 20. He laid the berry on top. "Dreams don't expire," he said. "They simply wait for their moments." The lid closed with a quiet click. Grandpa put the tin back on the shelf, adjusted it until it stood straight, and turned off the kitchen light. And that was how Grandpa's wonderful birthday came to an end. Believe in your dreams. They really can come true. Good night.